yeah, back
It's
after
like
Christmas, back
and
after celebration, like, oh, is this all working, you know?
no, it's
Or
not.
is it
It's
too soon? It's only the 7th, is it? Yeah. So,
the 7th. Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even look at that. That's how
yeah.
far I've come back.
Well, Happy New Year.
Yeah. Yes, Happy New Year. It's 2025.
Yeah.
And yeah, we thought it's a good idea to talk a little bit about fulfillment in your career in because people, over the festive season, they have time to think and contemplate, am I on the right path? And maybe not, should I change my job? And well, am I in my fulfilled career, or what do I have to do? So it's that time when people
Mm.
also set their goals and their intentions for the year. So we thought, well, let's start here and
And we've got
see
some
how that
good stuff.
goes. Oh, do
Yeah, we've
we?
got some
Do
good
we?
stuff to do. Well, we do. We have plenty of stuff coming up in this. I mean, let's start with what do we mean by fulfilling? What is fulfilling? Is it earning the big dollars? Is that what is going to fulfill you and make you happy? Or is there something else that is elusive that you perhaps need to dig a little deeper into yourself to find out, well, this matters to me. Yeah. So,
That's that's that's
where's the
that's
passion?
really
And
good. Yeah.
so, yeah, look, let's dig into this and we'll hopefully by the next 30 minutes, our listeners will have got something out of this. Well, that's the plan
Yeah.
anyway. So, I want to dig into this fulfilling thing. For me, I had a career where I was getting very, very well paid. I could go anywhere in the world anytime I liked. I had I traveled so much. I moved to Chicago to reduce the amount of travel that I would do. So I only had to fly across the Pacific once a month, once back here, then back there. It was bizarre. And when I complained about my job, anybody would say, yeah, well, let me have it. Can I carry your bags at least? You know, traveled on the pointy end of the airplanes and did all the wonderful stuff there. But I was empty because it was
Mm,
meaningless.
mm,
I'd achieved what I wanted to achieve. I'd got this great job and I was flying around the world and I did it for about 8 years, 9 years. Um, and in the end, I burned out.
mm.
So that's what's not to do. Don't do something that is not you.
That, that's well, thank you for sharing that. And that's important. I mean, that is important for people to understand that if there's nothing wrong with having this job and travel and having the income, but if that's all you're chasing, then you're
Mm.
chasing something external, and yeah, in the end it will leave you empty. And
And that's
so
the
that's
guts of
that's
it.
what not to do. So you
Yeah.
want to
So,
dig a little bit deeper. Hmm.
yeah. So look into yourself and find out who you are. First know
Hmm.
yourself. That
That's
old
right.
saying. And through that process, I went through, and that's why I'm sitting here with you today, because I went to that journey and said, well, okay, if it's not that, if that's not satisfying, what is? What is? And I know a lot of men in their 40s get this realization, well, hang on, I've worked hard, I'm now a partner in my firm and whatnot, and I'm still but I'm not going to be who I thought I was going to be, or it's not going to be, I'm still not satisfied. I'm not fulfilled. That's why I sort of picked on this word, fulfilled,
Hmm.
you know.
It's
And
important.
maybe,
It's a good word.
because one of the things that I've done and is joined Lions because it's a service club. Okay. So I have my work and I don't love all the aspects of the work that I do. Sometimes, when you're dealing with the coaching client that's telling the same story you've heard 3 times in a day already from other coaching clients, it's like, okay, and I've got to be fresh and on the job, and that's okay, right? But then I have this other part that's doing something for somebody else, that's doing something for for humanity, if you want, that's making the world a little bit better place.
Mm,
And I like this concept that we talk about in Engenesis and the being framework conversation, which is about your unique being. And you want to find alignment between what you're doing with your time and your unique being, because that's what you're going to be best at.
mm. That's right, and that's what ignites you and pulls you forward. And I mean, th- if you focus too much on yourself and what you can get from this world, then you completely neglect yourself, and that that happens a lot. And we're seeing a lot of people also in our vintage and younger who are now realizing, no, there's nothing wrong with the corporate world as such, but just chasing another project, another job, another promotion is not, it doesn't, is not very satisfying. And as you said, fulfillment, I think that's a very important point, to find the meaning. And the meaning is not self-serving. The meaning
No,
is, focusing on other people and what I can do, and also expressing yourself in that. So finding that part of a job, or role or a career that really ignites you, that you want to do.
mm. It reminds me of a quote from Viktor Frankl, which is wealth cannot be pursued, it must ensue from the pursuit of a greater cause.
Mm.
And I
And
think it's very, very true because if you go for that greater cause, that thing that you're passionate about, you will go the extra mile. You will do the extra learning. You will do what it takes to achieve that passion in your life. But if all you're getting out of it is money and a bit of admiration from people who are impressed by the cars, by impressed by wealth. If that's what you're getting out of that, then it's
yeah,
it's it's very poor income. No matter how much
and
money you're making, you're not
yeah, it just
looking
it
after
just
your
doesn't
soul.
doesn't doesn't it's just not satisfying. And
Mm.
maybe also a little note on Viktor Frankl, for the listeners who don't know who Viktor Frankl is. He survived the German concentration camps, and the reason he puts it back to is because he found meaning in being in this concentration camp and surviving, and writing a book about it, and that gave him purpose and meaning. And he puts it back to that he survived.
Wow.
And yeah, and I think that that is, wow, yeah, there's not much more you can say.
And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because, one of our listeners might be in a job that they think, well, gee, I need the money on, and I don't dislike this job. But Viktor Frankl can find meaning in being in a concentration camp. Then the challenge for our listeners is find meaning in the job that you're doing. Maybe you don't have to change job, but maybe you can add meaning to it. What's the bigger service that you're doing by doing your job? you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
it might be serving your family. I'm doing
yeah,
this and that's part of it. And yep, because I think for me, Jack, that the difference between a child and an adult is a child will do what they want. An adult does what needs to be done to bring about the outcome. They
yeah.
understand there has to be sacrifice or compromise and working with it. And there's a lot of 50, 60-year-old children out there. So
um and
sadly.
and I mean, you also sort of brought up a good point, as in, you want to discern, what is it really. And the world isn't perfect, and sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do because there is a bigger reason. It's like, I'm looking after my family. And I think that sometimes, undervalued these days. And I also see that men I want to say that here men suffer from this because men in the traditional role are the ones who provide for the families. And I've also seen it when I was in the corporate, sort of these big leaders. I mean, to be honest, a lot of women didn't want to do that job. So men
Mm,
did the job of what you've just explained about traveling the world. And I saw some of them over the years where their health was deteriorating.
I'd be
And
dead if I was still in that job, Jack. As simple as
yeah,
that. I don't think I'd be alone. Many of my
yes,
colleagues died young in their late 50s, early 60s.
exactly. Heart attacks. I've seen that
Heart
too.
attacks, cancer. There's a
And
whole lot of it's not a healthy
and
lifestyle.
yeah, I agree, and I think
Mm,
the word balance comes to mind. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I enjoyed my corporate life, but it also came to a point where I felt I wasn't expressing myself enough in those roles. And I
mm,
also, when I look back, if I would still be in those roles, I wouldn't be as calm and zen and healthy, I think, as I am today,
mm.
because there was stress, and I think I probably managed it reasonably well, but you can't avoid it. And that's why, I want to go back into businesses and help them to manage stress better. But having
Yeah,
said
I
this,
agree with you. Sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, and as I said, I still find, that there's nothing wrong with a corporate. There's nothing wrong with chasing a career, but you want to really investigate what is it precisely that you want, what is important to you, like, your family,
Mm,
your health. What is the price you pay for that?
mm,
And where is sort of the balance in that? And that is a very, very important starting point. And also investigating, what is it precisely if I'm not that happy? Is it something that I can influence? This channel is called Leading with Influence, that
mm.
I can influence. Can I influence my manager that, maybe my role changes a bit?
Yeah.
Maybe you only need to tweak it a little bit rather than, oh, I need to change. Or maybe you need to change.
Or maybe
If
you need to change your perspective of it.
that
So
that's
it's because that can change things massively. You go, okay, I feel like a slave, wage slave, because I'm coming here every day, having to do the work because I need to get the money. If you can get a bigger picture on that and say, and by doing that, I'm serving my family, and I can find some future role here. I can, this is a process. I'm going through, we were talking before we started the podcast today. I'm personally going through a discomfort zone at the moment because I'm growing. Growth is uncomfortable. But having put that, the metaphor of putting your own oxygen mask on first when you're in an airplane, the oxygen mask, but the adult puts the mask on first. Okay, so if you are slaving away for your family and you are not looking after yourself, you are not doing your family any favors because then you'll get
right.
sick and
That's
then
that's
you'll
right.
burn out. And so just make sure you got all the insurances in place. I had that. I went there and that's what paid the bills because I had the right insurances in place. But I urge listeners, if they want to have a fulfilling career, go beyond the obvious of money. Go beyond, find the big why. It's Simon Sinek's why. This is one of the first things I work with my clients. So we as humans, really, the Earth statistically is very unlikely to exist, even less likely to hold life, create life. How did life start? When you start looking at all the odds against that, let alone you as an individual, your parents being who they are, meeting, having you, it's the odds against you being your unique being are just absolutely astronomical. And yet here you are.
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
Work that out.
that's right. That's that's
Go
right.
there and
Well,
say,
that
you,
takes
you're so
a life.
special. You're so special. Why are you here? I mean, I love working with you on this stuff, Jack, because, you know, I'm fulfilling my purpose. I think partly at ripe old age of 64, giving the benefit of what I've learned in my life to people who are willing to listen and go, ah, there's a thought. I wonder what it is, Well, what is my vision? Because I mean, my vision is to live in a world of enlightened citizens and leaders, and my mission is to have the discussions and coach others to have the discussions to bring that about. So this is what we're doing. I'm
That's
literally doing my mission here.
that's right. That's right. And that is very sort of energizing. It's not, sometimes it can be tiring, but um, it is in essence energizing. It
It,
is
it
what gets me up and gets me going, because I am living my purpose and my passion. And
yeah.
I also want to say, like, whatever I've done before, it got me to this place. So
Yes, I honor it.
I honor it.
Yeah.
I and and that was also, I can, when I look backwards, you can connect the dots a little bit better than when you're in it, in the present
Yeah.
moment. And I think, oh, that all prepared me to be now who I am, especially in this, chaotic world that's giving us so many distractions,
Yeah.
to stay focused and calm, centered, and and do my thing and pass that on to other people so they can see, oh, okay, there is a way. And it is, you mentioned it at some time before, like, change is a matter of changing your perspective. That's where the change is.
Hmm.
There is not some magical thing changing inside of you, but things have changed. No, it is always, we're coaching people and
Hmm.
ourselves. It's always a change of perspective.
Hmm.
And that's something that you are in control of. Um, and also, if it is at a point where you are in an environment that is what we these days call toxic, where you think the leadership and everything around it is really, um, it's really a negative environment. And sometimes the best thing to do is leave that environment. But that's not always the case. You need to be very discerning. Is this actually an environment where I cannot influence change? And
Yeah.
then, and you don't have to leave overnight. You put a plan into place. We all have bills to pay. You can't just, leave your job. But by having a plan in place, if that is the case, that's already lifting your spirit if you're in that case.
That's right. You're taking control, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, that's your control. And
Hmm.
taking control is not always comfortable. It's like, and it doesn't always go the way you want it to. But rather than, oh, I have no choice, my manager is like this and I can't do this. Well, may I remind you, this channel is called Leading with Influence.
Well, exactly.
Oh,
And I was going to pick up on what you
can
said
you
before.
influence? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
go
I'm going to
ahead.
pick up on what you said before, Jack, about being calm, being centered in a chaotic world.
Yeah,
If you can be calm and centered and say, well, look, this is part of my journey. It's a very uncomfortable part of the journey. I'm not enjoying this environment, but I'm not going to allow that to upset me. How much influence will you be able to get? I can tell you now, a lot. People will see you as what do they call it? A ship in the storm, just a serene, that calm person in all chaos around. They're keeping their cool. That's a leader.
yeah. That's right. And it doesn't mean that this leader who is zen and calm and cool in the moment doesn't have any worries or anxieties or fear. Um, but you can still sort of maintain your sort of, what's it called, your state
Yeah,
in the place
and
of fear.
what they do have, Jack, is a plan.
Mm. Yeah, a plan.
They have
Right.
a plan. They have thought and gone, okay, this is chaos. I need to get out of here. But in the meantime, I need to get done what can be done and know their limitations as well and
Yes.
have boundaries.
Yeah.
Have boundary. That's too far.
Yeah.
And this all comes back to knowing yourself, understanding why you're doing what you're doing, what's your big reason. If you're that big reason out there, no matter how crappy the job gets, if it's in service of that big reason, then you're able to stay calm and stay focused and say, there's a reason I'm doing this.
That's right. That's right.
But
And I think that's also we see. I mean, I see a lot of people who are a bit lost in all this chaos. And the thing is, if you, I mean, the world is chaotic right now, and or it's been presented to us as being chaotic. If I look out of the window,
interesting
it's not.
point.
There's no, I don't see chaos. I see people going about their lives and doing their things and so
Mm,
forth. But you can get sucked into, all this information that's now available to us so freely, which in the 80s and the 90s wasn't. And, ignorance is bliss.
mm,
And now who says that you have to digest all this information?
yeah.
And can I influence this? No, I can influence my sphere here. Well, I did have a different point, but I lost my point on the way. I was
Well, that's
guiding,
why I keep a
going,
copy of this. I keep a
going
copy of
somewhere
the
else.
I keep a copy of the Serenity Prayer in my drawer here. So know what you can influence and what you can't influence,
Yeah. And
and focus on that you can, and have serenity around that you can't. Because
right.
I think, this is I suppose I'm going to get a little bit metaphysical
We,
here in the
we, we
context
are
of it. Is
getting
God
quite
does
deep.
does God exist? Like honestly, if you trust yourself and you do the right thing by humanity, then humanity will do the right thing by you. And it doesn't happen simultaneously. And often it's not from the person who you might help that you get a payback from. But there's a lot to be said for caring for your fellow man and communicating
Mm.
and being, and that's what drove me nutty probably in that job I had, was I had colleagues but I didn't have friends. Because in that world, you're trading, so you're looking after your wallet, they're looking after their wallet, and so and it's difficult to develop relationships in that context.
Yeah,
So
that's a really good point, because sometimes I also get confronted with people say, well, the people at work, they're not my friends. And to some, obviously, not all of them are, but that
mm,
doesn't, put you in the position not to make the one or the other friend, because they're people like you, they also come from home and go to work and work. So what's the difference?
and you're
And
depriving yourself if you don't try.
that's right. It's not, oh, I go to work, they're different people. No, they're the same people. They're like you.
Mm,
They
mm,
have
mm.
families, they have things to do, they have challenges, and then they go to work. Yeah, that's also a really good point about the friendships. Oh, I mean, we're deep today for our leadership of we're
But I
still
think,
kicking off
because
the
we're
kicking off.
talking about fulfillment. I mean,
That's right.
and what a
That's
time of
right.
the year to think about it. Just think about it. What is it that you want to see changed in the world? What would you like to see change in the world? And if it's big enough, you certainly won't be able to achieve it on your own. That has to be given, because it has to be something you could enroll people into it. Um, you might not achieve it in your lifetime. I don't think I'll ever see uh, a world of enlightened citizens and leaders.
Yeah. We
Maybe,
might,
but I
we
don't
might,
think so.
we
I think I'm
might,
too old
that's,
already.
we might not make it.
That might not
Yeah, and
live
that's,
that long, but it gives me purpose to get out there and have these conversations and to actually work towards it, write the work, do the articles that people can find on the Engenesis platform, and do all that sort of work. Um, do that. And you know what also? It makes me feel good. I get
mm,
to love on people. I get to help people and care for people. And magically, that really is an amazing feeling.
It
So
is.
if you're
I mean,
doing
try
you're
it.
doing your job for the right reason, it's great, you know?
Yeah, that's right. If you mentor a colleague, and then they sort of um, progressing. I mean, that's just beautiful to watch. And then
Mm,
the
mm,
focus is away from you to the other person. But I do want to actually put it back to you as well, coming
yeah.
back to this thing. I mean, this let's say chaotic world. As I said, when I look outside the window, my near environment is not chaotic. So you have to discern where is the chaos and is it really in your environment. But having said this, if you then orient yourself to a chaotic environment, the way it's presented to you, and it is in some areas of the world, it is chaotic in some areas
Mm,
of the world, um, then you're not going to become calm and peaceful. You have to orient yourself inwards. You have to be the
right.
calm and the peace, as you mentioned before,
Mm,
and not orient yourself. No, go inside and be. That's where it is, and that's where you also find, your purpose and who you are. And it's very easily to be said, oh, you just find out who you are. It's a
mm,
lifelong journey to find that out because there's always more and more and more, which makes it also exciting
mm.
because there's no end in sight
Yeah, well,
of finding that out.
we're continually renewing and recreating ourselves to get an outcome.
Mm.
And as we live through life, we change. And then even the life journey, you're a child, you're a teenager, you find yourself an adult, you get married, you're a parent, and you have children now, and then they grow up and you have grandchildren. Well, that's what I have. That's what's happened to me so far. And uh, maybe one day I'll have great grandchildren. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But life
That's
goes on,
right.
and so we change those roles and we develop. But I want to emphasize this point: don't buy into the chaos. You're absolutely right.
and
You
and
are important. You matter. Take your time out. Put your own oxygen mask on first. Make sure you are sustaining yourself. Make sure you're doing the right things. And don't make that a burden. Don't make exercise a burden. Find something that's fun.
that's right.
Don't make eating well a burden. Find food that you like.
That's right.
Right?
Find that's right. um
So,
uh,
because when you make these things a burden, it's like, if you make your job a burden, then you're not going to be fulfilled at it. And this is all perspective, isn't it?
it is. If you think, no, I have to get up every morning at 6 o'clock and then I'll go for a run and then I have my healthy breakfast and none of that inspires you, you're that's like, how long is this going to last? This is what a lot of people
Yeah.
do.
How long is it going
And
to last?
I've
Absolutely the
just
point.
changed my behavior. No, we are about looking what is driving your behavior. So you have to look a little bit deeper. And
Mm,
then, it's a really good point. Find if you do want to make changes, introduce changes, whether it's at work or in your private life, make it work for you. Find, an occupation or a role where you are that serves you. And sometimes, as I said earlier, it can be just a tweak, a
mm.
tweak that you can probably discuss with your manager. And if you don't try, it's not gonna, it definitely won't work.
Now, on that one, I want to remind people of the earlier podcast there. How to have difficult conversations is amongst that. Set the time, ask if it's okay to have that conversation. So that's more information that's back there in our previous podcasts. Um, and but the short version of that is just say, is it okay? I've the subject I need to talk to you. Is this okay? And they go, yeah, now's a good time. Fine. You've got invitation. They've been told that you're going to have a conversation with them. And if it's not, make a time later on. It's doable. Everything is doable. But the most important thing here for our listeners to understand is it is down to them.
I mean, you've just triggered. I mean, this everything is doable. I want to, dig a bit deeper because that is actually such a such a significant point because a lot of people think, oh, it's not doable. And what it reminded me of people who are really good negotiators in the corporate, in the business world, they say everything is negotiable. So you have a contract, with whatever it is, a supplier, another company, and the contract outlines certain things, and then you might want to negotiate something different. And some people say, well, it's in the contract, I can change it. A good negotiator, and you've studied that, I haven't, is everything is negotiable. Now, that doesn't mean that you get it 100% the way you want it, but everything is negotiable.
Yeah. And
And
look, one of the
that's a
things
really,
is
yeah, go
one of
ahead.
the really crazy things is you get in a conversation and you find that your boss wants somebody to come in half an hour early or finish half an hour later or do some other little job that's really annoying for him or her. They're not getting this. You may be able to get a great big benefit out of something that, oh, your wife's not home for another half hour anyway, so you stay an extra half hour doesn't mean anything to you. It's cheap, right? But all of a sudden, you are that much more important to the whole operation, and you get what you want, which might be support for further study or for some learning experience or some whatever it is that you're looking for that's going to add to your fulfillment. You can get it for a very cheap price, but you got to get in the conversation.
That's right. And um, yeah, I mean, there is so much to be said around, am I in a fulfilling career? And
Mm.
you're the only person who can make that change. And I think we did talk a lot about fulfillment and passion and your inner being, your unique being. And um, and I do want to point it out again, you have to stay there for a long time. Most people brush over it. Oh, then no, you need to stay there for long enough to really connect with, what's igniting your passion. What is it all? And look at your whole life, not just your career, and then find, what's my way through it. And if you skim over it too fast, you're doing yourself a disservice. And it's really, really understanding what is it precisely that I like about this work? What is it precisely that I want to add? How much do I value my family life or friend or social life? And kind of put everything into perspective. That's why it is so important to look at it, because I'm, for example, like you, I'm quite clear on these things, and they do still change, or sometimes, it's more leaning towards one area to another, but I'm quite clear. And with this clarity comes calm and peace, and I know what to do, and my decisions are aligned with it because I know, oh, okay, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. Easy.
And
Um,
and and I remind everybody of the commitment poem by isn't this goat that the moment one commits, all sorts of things happen in one's favor, and so the
right.
universe moves towards you because you've committed to this this mission, if you want.
That's
And
that's
I want
that's
to pick
right.
up also there, Jack, that it's a really good idea to find yourself a guide
Mm.
on this journey. Get yourself a coach. There's a lot of work out there that you can find out. There's a lot of books you can read. Um, Sometimes just having that experienced human across the table or on the other end of a Zoom call or whatever can make all the difference because they'll see things that you don't.
That's that's
And
that's right, and
yeah,
that's right, and they sort of hold a mirror into places where you can't really see yourself, and that increases your
es-
perspective or changes it, and then you think, oh, I didn't think of that. Um,
especially the one pieces you don't want to look at.
the other pieces, I didn't want to see that,
Yeah, thanks for
but
nothing. But
yeah,
unless you see that whole picture, then it's very difficult to
yeah.
get the complete answer.
That's right, and you do need to look at it. And that's also often these days kind of brushed over. People want to stay in like positive space, but
Mm.
you can't change it if you don't look at it. You can't heal a person if you don't look at the disease and know what
No, if you're
it
not dealing
is.
with
So you don't know what to give there, how
if you're
to
not
help.
dealing with reality, it's ineffective.
Yeah, yeah, and
It's
that's
as
all it
simple as
is.
that.
It's very simple. I actually think that's a really good point. If you're not dealing with reality, it's ineffective. That's it. It's not, morally wrong or right. No, it's just ineffective. I actually think on that note, I mean, that's really a good note. We could think we
We're
should
done.
finish. We're done because
Great.
this is like
Thanks so
rumbling.
much for listening, folks.
This is really summing it up.
Mm,
Let me
mm.
repeat. If you're not dealing and looking at reality, you're just ineffective. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Right. Well, have a
If you
good
want
start.
help, get in touch.
Yeah, have a good start to 2025, and we will be here week by week.
See you
Bye.
next time, guys.